Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
Good. I'm gonna adjust this a little. There we go.
Uh,
What's going on?
Not much, mate. Not much. Well, I firstly want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to be on here.
Well, I know your schedule's normally busy, but at this time, we're all a bit.
I know everything's a little bit different right now. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So where are you located?
Right now, I'm actually in Vegas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was in Los Angeles, but with everything going on, we decided to come out to Vegas because we have another place out here. So,
Right, get out of the way. Yeah, it's a bit
yeah.
funny in America, I'm seeing at the minute. But well,
Yeah.
thank you for coming on. I mean, what I thought I would do, and I spoke to you briefly before, is just whilst this time's on, we can talk about and touch upon mental health and wellness, but find about your career, what you've done, and how you've managed to maneuver and get through the noise and build a successful career.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Yeah, sounds great.
Great. Well, for anybody that's just checking in, guys, Destiny is a singer-songwriter from Malibu who has been writing and performing music since her childhood. She appeared on American Idol in 2018 and plays venues across the US and internationally. The first time that I met Destiny was through Evertalk TV. And
Woohoo!
I didn't tell you at the time, I thought you was the host of the show, you know, because they gave you the microphone. And then
Oh,
when you,
really?
yeah, and then when you was talking and you was asking the guy and you were saying, oh, how do you want me to say it? I was like, isn't she the host?
You're like, okay, this is concerning. The host doesn't know how to introduce
Yeah, I'm like,
himself.
what the? But no,
That's too funny.
we were so glad that you did that. Like the heat was taken off us. Right.
Yeah, I was worried. I was like, because so many of the words were so similar. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm totally gonna like flip this around and mess it up.
Oh, you did fine. But so let's take it back to most of the people know you in the US. To the audience in Australia,
Yes.
tell me a little bit about your story. So what I always say to people is, yes, I know you as Destiny Malibu, the singer, the songwriter, but I love to get to know people. So you as Destiny and find
Okay.
out what makes you tick and your story.
Yes. So me as an artist, is that what you're saying? Or me as Destiny?
Well, what made you, or what initially got you, or attracted you to singing?
Right. Well, I actually got into music at a very young age. My mom was a musician herself. So I like to say that I felt like I was literally like born into the music studio.
Yeah.
And like my earliest memories are just like being in the studio and like watching my mom record and sing and write music. And so at a very young age, like I just completely fell in love with music and knew that it was something that I wanted to get into. So I started playing guitar when I was about 9 years old, and
Yeah.
I wrote my very first song at that time. And from then on, like I was hooked. Like I was like, I'm obsessed with songwriting. I love being in the studio. This is at 9 years old. I knew I was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So just like growing up, I went to Malibu High School, and that is a very theatrical influenced high school. So I was always like in the music shows, and I kind of had like a reputation like for being very like a musical girl on campus. I was so happy my senior year I was voted most musical, which was like shocking because I was actually on independent study at the time. So I was like so shocked that everybody voted for me because there's so many talented people at Malibu High. So it was just something that I was kind of known for growing up, and I entered a lot of music competitions, and I actually won a lot of music competitions. So I knew at that point, like, hey, like I'm not just getting recognition from like my parents, like I'm entering competitions and like I'm actually, winning. So by the grace of God. So I was like, this is definitely a sign to me that I am on the right path and this is what I want to do.
Wow, that's good to learn from an early age. But to that question where I'd say, how do you drown out the noise? Going back to when you did go to the Malibu school and you said you was around talented people. And I've often seen shows where you actually do see a lot of these schools and you're like, my God, they're so talented. It's kind of towards your mental health and your well-being. how do you maneuver yourself through all that noise as well to not try and get into self-worth and thinking they're better than you and the competitive nature?
Right. Well, I think it's definitely a learning curve, like especially when you're younger and you're in high school and you're super impressionable and you're still figuring out who you are and still learning your self-worth and stuff. I definitely had moments growing up where I would see some people and be like, oh my gosh, like they're amazing. Like, you know, can I compare to that? And there was definitely moments like that where I had to really reflect. And I feel very blessed that I'm very close with my family. And
Yeah.
so one of the things that they always taught me growing up was to never compete with anybody except myself.
Yeah.
And that like never really rang true for me until like I really like dove in deep to what that really meant. And what that means to me is just that there's so many talented people, but comparison really is the thief of joy. And I think it was just understanding like, hey, like there are always going to be people in every field who are subjectively, because it's all opinion based, better
Yeah.
than you. But at the end of the day, it's just understanding that nobody can be uniquely you, and nobody has your experiences and everything that has made you into the person that you are. And once you realize the power of that and your being and how there is only one of you and no one's going to write a song or a melody or perform with the same inflections and breath exactly like you are, and when you realize how like magical that is, then for me that just completely went away, where when I see people that are really talented, I'm just like, yes, like I'm here to cheer you on, because you know it's inspiring and we all have something different to bring to the table.
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's kind of, people can imitate or copy, but essentially we've got to think that let them, it's a compliment, because there's only ever going to be one of you.
Right.
I think when people get that in their head, and I love the way that you put it, and you're like, it's almost like you're saying, I elevate people's success as well, and I clap my hands at it, because I think, yes, you are talented and you do deserve what you do. So with you going through Malibu high school and surrounded by a lot of talented people, obviously you can go down the route of being a performer in the entertainment industry and seeing your mum do it.
Mm-hmm.
Was there another aspect where you also, or I'll put it in a different way, did you also see, because if it was like a performing arts school, the nature of disappointment as well when
Mm-hmm.
people got no's and that towards the music industry?
Right. Like, you mean like in school or in general?
I mean, yeah, because was your school, sorry, I'm just based off of what I know about American performing arts schools.
Yeah.
Was you going out to auditions while she was during school? Was it that type of school?
Well, when I was in high school, I wasn't really doing auditions at the time. It was more so just that I would participate in the plays and the the school shows and that kind of thing. And I did enter professional writing competitions,
Yeah.
and I did perform at venues on my own, but it wasn't necessarily like an audition.
Right.
I think that yeah, at that age, any type of rejection, though, I would see people like audition for, the choir show or something and not get in. And that's definitely like a lot to handle at a young age where, you're learning how to deal with rejection. And I think that the music business in general has definitely taught me over time, not overnight, like how to have thick skin and understand that even though I'm so happy that I do get a lot of love and a lot of positive enforcement from fans and people who listen to my music, I still get people who absolutely hate me, and I think that as you get older, you learn to realize like that's okay.
Yeah.
And that in life, you're never going to win everybody over, and that a no isn't the end of the world, because really, it's life is made up of opinions. So somebody's opinion doesn't necessarily mean it's fact, and somebody's truth and someone liking you isn't going to be necessarily someone else's truth. So I think that it really is just about, which is something that I try to preach to like the high school kids and the college kids, and something that took me a while to learn is that really every part of your life gets better when you learn to fall in love with yourself every single day, because you have to be your own biggest fan, because people are going to tear you down. And if you let other people have control of your emotions and drive your car and drive your emotions, like, you're going to crash.
Yeah.
Because you need to be in control and know your worth. And I think that, not in a conceited way, but just in a way of self-value, I think that that translates into everything that you do, whether it's your relationships, your career, and dealing with rejection. So
Yeah, and it does ultimately all come down to your mental well-being and your mindset to move forward. Now, when did you decide to take that into a professional level? Like, you obviously went through school and knew you loved it. When did you go, right, I'm going to give it a go? You saw your mum in that industry. Yeah.
yeah, so when I was a senior in high school, actually, which is why I ended up going on independent study, I actually got my first gig as a songwriter. And so it was for someone that I went to school with, and it was for his company called Burnett Music Group. And his dad is actually a producer of like The Voice and Shark Tank and everything, which was an amazing connection. So he said, hey, you know, I love your songwriting. It's actually really funny because like we would enter those school competitions for songwriting, and by some reason, by some miracle, I like beat him every year. And he finally came up to me and he was like, you know what, this is ridiculous. He's like, I'm gonna start a songwriting company. I want you to be my first signed songwriter, and you know, I want to get your music out there. So at that point in my life, I was 17, and I went on independent study. And again, it was like a sign for me where I was like, wow, like this isn't just affirmation from people that know me. Like this is like a professional job. So
Yeah.
that was like my entry into the music industry professionally.
Yeah.
And I started writing and doing sessions with different artists, and I was in love with it, and knew that I wanted to keep going. But it didn't last too long of just being a songwriter. I made the transition to artist, which was a big decision at that time, but I'm happy that I did it.
So is it such a big transition when you go from a songwriter to in front of the camera? And if there's any aspiring songwriters or singers out there that wanting to do that, any advice that you can give them? Is it ultimately down to your agent or your manager, or if you haven't got those people behind you, what sort of things, or during your isolation time, what can you put into practice? What are the essentials that you would suggest?
I think that, like, especially like you said, like during this time of isolation, it's like just take the time to make more content, and really for any artists out there, just kind of discover every day more of what kind of artist you want to be. Experiment with different types of songwriting, experiment with different genres, and make content and see what works for you and what works for your audience. And I think that this business is really a lot of trial and error, as with anything in life. And it definitely helps to know people in the industry and to make those connections. As the tale of time, you know, it's about the connections in this business. And like, even though you hear that a lot, it's really so true. I mean, there's so many talented people, but it really is about like getting out there and networking, and being a social person and being a salesperson of your brand and your music and what you're passionate about. So I think that it's really just about like getting started. I think a lot of people are afraid to put themselves out there initially, and they are afraid of rejection, and that fear of rejection, I think, stops a lot of people from putting out content. Like, I know so many artists who will make music and then they'll sit on it for years and be like, no, like, it's not good enough. And something like I always try to tell people and aspiring artists and other artists is, you know, there comes a point where anything can always improve. So it's like at some point you have to say, you know what, I'm gonna put this out there, and if I grow and I'm better than what this product is a year from now, then great. But either way, like you have to get started, and you have to put content out and just kind of see where it takes you.
And you'd have to, I suppose, you'd have to kind of find out what is engaging your audience as well, whether it
Right.
does work or what, because you could put something out and they could absolutely love it. And you'd be like, oh, I was trying to fine tune it. I mean, my wife, like, to her detriment, and she will admit it herself, she's a researcher. If she's going to do something like a songwriter, she will research. Whereas people that know me know I'm a doer. I'll do it and let's just get on with it. Like, it might work, it might not. I don't judge at all because we all work in a different way. Essentially, what I try and say to my wife sometimes is, the more we sit on something, we're not going to do it. We're not going to, like, and I think that can go across any industry.
Right.
So yeah, I take my hat off for anyone. But when we look at your social media presence and the public figure, this is what I try and do with my campaign and kind of de-celebritize it and get people to know the real person. We see the music videos and the music and songs. Was you always that person as what is seemingly an extrovert, or is that something that you've had to work on yourself as well? Because in that industry, a lot of people tend to have performance anxiety as well.
Right.
So have you had to work on yourself through that?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Like, I'm definitely an ambivert. So I'm like 50% introvert and like 50% extrovert. And I think that people automatically assume, because of the business I'm in, that I'm full blown extrovert. And I am a social person, but I am like, I'm the type of person who like needs alone time, and like that's how I create. So I actually spend a lot of time alone, and like that's like the introverted part of me. Like, it's kind of scary how long I can be by myself. Like, okay, because like I'm creating stuff.
Yeah.
But the extroverted side of me is I love people, and I love to entertain, and I love to like bring a show and positive energy. And I think that with music and performing in concerts, like that is an avenue for me to just get that extroverted side of me out at full level. So I think it's definitely, for me, it's a balance between the two. But like, even with my most recent music videos, like all the dance routines and everything, like that's only come into fruition in the last couple years.
Yeah.
And in terms of, in my opinion, the overall well-roundedness of like the pop world, where there's dancing and, you know, choreography, and I had never done choreography before. So I'm constantly trying to grow and give my audience something more to look forward to. And I think a lot of times, I mean, of course, like most people, I get nervous, and, you know, I can be self-conscious. And when you're on camera and they're looking at you at every single angle, you know, especially if you're young and impressionable, that can be like really scarring. It's like, oh my gosh, you're seeing yourself like 360 in every light. So again, I think it comes back to just falling in love with yourself, accepting yourself and all your flaws. And I'm naturally also like a perfectionist, so I've had to work really hard on being like, it's okay to mess up. And in many ways, like, it's actually healthy. And psychology even says that people who mess up, like, it makes you more relatable too. So I think that even if you're introverted and you're coming out into the music scene, you know, it's just about loving yourself and believing in yourself, and people are going to feed off of that energy. And that's something I've learned about on camera and on stage, and it's something that I have to work on daily. But I have to remind myself, like, if I feel nervous or I feel uncomfortable, the crowd is going to feel uncomfortable. Like, they naturally are going to mirror what you're feeling. So even initially, if it doesn't feel totally natural for you, you just have to like embrace yourself like 10,000% and not care what anybody else thinks, except for be passionate about what you're doing and what you're saying and what you're putting out into the world. And your audience that's meant for you is going to connect, and they're going to love you too and believe in your belief for what you're doing. So,
and I don't think you have to be perfect on your what you do on your socials, like yours, for instance, and a lot of people that are coming through this campaign is you're all very transparent. So yes, you're promoting what you do because it's your profession, but then on your Insta stories, you're showing the behind the scenes and the mess ups and very transparent. And I think that what you just said about when you go on stage with your audience, you're more relatable.
Right.
Because if you do transition from being on camera messing up to messing up on stage, they're just like,
Right.
oh, it's just destiny. Like, because they know they've connected with you. Whereas I
Yeah.
think if you're tending to portray that you're perfect on everything and you do mess up, that's where it kind of comes up unstuck, because we are all imperfect. So yeah, I think that's amazing that you lead it by that way. What I've noticed is you're just genuinely very grounded and you know who you are. And that in itself is just a really authentic thing, which is why I think you connect with a lot of people. But coming back to your career, then you went on such a huge show, American Idol.
Yeah.
How did you find that, then putting yourself out to the whole of America?
Yeah, that was such an interesting and fun and cool experience. Like, it was so cool to meet Katy Perry and Lionel Richie and Luke Bryan, and it was like really scary to perform. I'm so used to performing in front of people, but to perform in front of other established celebrities.
Yeah, your peers, yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, like this is a totally different environment. But it was really cool. I learned a lot, and you know, there's always something to learn from everybody, especially people at the position that they're in. So I didn't win, but it was amazing exposure and just something that I'm really happy happened in my career, and something that like I'll treasure forever. But it was, I mean, anytime you go on like national TV like that, it's easy to get in your head and and wonder if you're making a fool of yourself.
I mean, for anyone listening to this, then take us back to that day when Ryan was about to say, "Right, Destiny, you can go through the door." What was going through your head?
It was so many emotions. I feel like I was just like in a pure state of euphoria. Like I was like, this isn't even real. I had watched American Idol when I was younger and watched Carrie Underwood. So to be in that position myself and like about to walk in there, it was very surreal. And it was just basically a lot of deep breathing and trying to not pass out. I kept telling myself, Destiny, like, don't be nervous. Like, you only live once. Before you even blink, this is going to be over. So enjoy it. And that's what I tell myself about anything that I get nervous about. I'm like, you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to wake up, God willing, and that will be a memory. So I'm just going to enjoy this right now and just take it all in. And that's what I try to do with things like that are intimidating.
Wow. And then you saw them all in front of you.
Yeah.
That'll go out the window.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, what am I thinking?
Oh, well, it's because I was saying that the first time, well, it even happened when I was next to you guys. So sat on that sofa, having a laugh with you guys, I was like, I'd said my affirmations before, like, Glenn, you're going to do this. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. And I'm sat with you guys, and like, there's you and Zach, and you're having a laugh, and then Zach's laughing, and he's got his cup upside down, and I'm like, oh, I feel easy. I feel at ease. Then as soon as the guy came in, he was like, right, we're live. Boom. I was like, shit. So I don't know. When people say you do your affirmations, so say you walk through the door and then you've got Katy Perry, Lionel Richie in front of you. Yeah. What goes through your head?
Honestly, I was just telling, you know, obviously you're a little bit like kind of in shock and like in awe, and it's like exciting and fun.
But then you've got to sing as well.
Yes, but then I also had to like make, you know, sentences and sing. So it's, you know, it's just a whirlwind, but I think it's also just like with performing it's an adrenaline rush. And I think it's just about embracing the moment and again, just reminding yourself like, hey, I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to do my best. I love myself. I'm going to put my best foot forward, and I'm going to enjoy this moment right now because it's going to be over before I know it. So I just try to tell myself those things.
That's good. And you obviously did well. And I think the people need to realize from those shows as well, we see the disappointment. Obviously, that might be manipulated a little bit through media to gain the viewership and everything. But ultimately, I think people need to realize from that sort of thing, it is a platform and it's stepping you forward. So it's
Right.
even giving you confidence. And I think what I like about you is that you are that grounded, that you already see that as part of your journey. And I think people need to see that as well. Whatever it is, if it's disappointment, you're learning, aren't you?
Right. Yeah. It was an experience, you know, and it was cool.
Yeah. So what are you doing these days? Obviously, concentrate on your music. You've got a new music video out, which is incredible, by the way.
Thank you.
Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so I have a lot of new music that's ready to go and ready to be released. And obviously, with the coronavirus, everything has kind of come to a halt worldwide. I mean, it's been so crazy to see so many artists, you know, well, pretty much everybody canceling their shows. And, you know, I was about to go on another high school and college tour, but now I'm just kind of, you know, we're all kind of in this weird place in a way, and we're just kind of waiting for things to get better. I mean, I don't know, the world is, I don't know, it's crazy that, you know, usually when catastrophes happen, it's like one area of the world, but this is literally worldwide.
It feels like a movie, doesn't it? It feels surreal. You're watching TV, but you're like, oh, I can just go to the shop for a loaf of bread, but you can't. Like, so it doesn't. It's messing
It's
with
so
everyone's
crazy.
mind.
I think that all the time. I'm like, literally, like, I'm living in a scary movie. Like, I've seen this on TV. Like, what is happening?
Well, we know that, like, in a few months, when hopefully this is over, there will be a movie made about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
I'm sure there's probably already movies made about it.
yeah, it'll be coming out. But the thing on Netflix at the moment is like they've got a movie called Pandemic out. They've got Contagion playing. I'm like, why are you trying to put more movies that are going to scare people?
Oh
Like,
my gosh. I try so hard not to like watch anything scary or that's gonna like get in my head like that. I try to watch like lighthearted, funny, like The Office or just something like really like low
Take your mind
investment.
out of it. Yeah. Oh, it's one of those things. I will ask you though quickly before we go, for any aspiring singers out there, my last chat actually with a good friend Nick, she's an actress, but she also left a question which would really attribute to yourself actually. She was like, what would you say is one of the best putting your best foot forward to get yourself out there and noticed if you are networking and you're kind of an introvert, like you said you were. So going to a networking event and trying to, we often see people, especially on Hollywood Boulevard, handing their CDs out.
Right.
It may work, it may not work, but how do you go from being an introvert to going into a networking event and really putting your best foot forward?
Right. I think that, you know, of course, there are a ton of extroverts or ambiverts in the music industry, but there's a lot of successful introverts too. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, just to name a few, I'm pretty sure like Ed Sheeran is an introvert. I'm pretty sure that, well, I know for sure like The Weeknd, who's amazing, just released a new album. I know for sure that he's an introvert because he won't even do interviews.
Yeah.
Like, he says, I refuse to do any type of interviews, which blows my mind. So, but I think that that's proof that, you know, you can make it. I think your talent will speak for itself. And obviously you have to communicate enough for people to like hear your stuff, you know, and be like, hey, check it out. But I think once you get past that, if your music is quality and speaks to people, then it's going to shine on its own. And I think there's a lot of artists like The Weeknd or like Ed Sheeran who maybe, you know, are a little bit more quiet, but their music is so amazing that, you know, that's okay. So I think that there's room for everybody. It's just a matter of putting your best content out there and then just trying to share it and then seeing who reacts to it and then choosing your path.
Amazing advice. Well, I want to thank you for taking this time to chat.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for constantly just checking the campaign out and pushing it where you can and telling people about it. So that's amazing.
Absolutely.
And you have spread some positivity with a dance challenge, I noticed. So tell people about that before you go.
Yes. So I have a dance challenge going on, and it's for my song Sweet Persuasion. And if you enter, you learn the dance routine that my choreographer will teach that you'll see in the music video. And we're going to announce 3 winners on May 1st. And you can win $300, $200, or $100, which with the economy right now, like that's like,
That's
that's
one
what
way,
like
yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
enters because
Oh,
I
well,
mean, man, it's like so many jobs are like at a halt right now, which is crazy. But and all you have to do for this is just learn the dance, record yourself, put it on TikTok or Instagram, whatever, and we'll announce the winners May 1st.
amazing. And where can people find you? Obviously, I'll put your link for Instagram and everything, but
Yes.
where else can we find you?
So all of my information is on destinymalibu.com, and I'm most like active on Instagram, but I'm like trying to like get into TikTok and stuff. But all of my social links, there's so much to keep up with. It's like crazy.
Oh, there's so many platforms.
Like Snapchat, Twitter, you know, all of it. It's a lot. But
Yep.
yeah, all of my social links are on destinymalibu.com.
Cool. Well, again, I want to thank you on behalf of me and the campaign. We look forward to seeing more of your music. Guys, check Malibu. Destiny, I can't even speak now. I've been talking all day.
I know. I've seen you like the live icon like on literally all day. I'm like,
I know. Oh, now I've got to have a rest. I'll let you need some water. But yeah, check it out, guys. Amazing stuff that she's doing. You're going on tour when all this is over, hopefully?
Yes, I will be going on tour, and I will be posting all the dates on my website and on my social media and everything. So when this is over, I'll be on the road.
Fingers crossed. All right, guys. Until next time. Thank you, Destiny.
Yeah, thank you so much, Doug. You're awesome. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.